What was the main mistake Clarence Boudica made when he first met Murphy? And what barely visible details are there in the terrible death of Emil Antonowsky? I'll answer these and other interesting questions about the movie RoboCop in this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy! I like to make content on various cinematic universes and franchises, but no matter what, from time to time I really want to dive into this atmosphere of an abandoned steel mill, where we first saw Cyborg Murphy's futuristic head with exposed mechanisms lubricated with engine oil. The atmosphere that's inextricably associated with jars of baby food and Murphy's unadjusted automatic sight. By the way, this location has a significant artistic importance for the movie's plot too, since this is not only the place of Officer Murphy's death in the beginning of the film, but also the death place of the gang that killed him in an inhumane way. We also shouldn't forget about the religious allusion to walking on water that Paul Verhoeven embedded into the movie, but that's beside the point. So this short video will be dedicated to individual cutthroats from Clarence Boudica's gang and to the man himself. And as you might have deduced from the title, we'll talk about their unfortunate fate with flecks of true creepy body horror, but it'll mainly focus on Emil here anyway. First of all, I want to draw your attention to the gorgeous cast of the entire Clarence Boudica's gang. These guys have done their job, and at a certain point they've broken my 7 or 8-year-old mind, embodying the unlimited ferocity that was shown on the screen and echoed in my ears with Joe Cox's laugh. I think this is precisely what Paul Verhoeven wanted from them. Being an unsophisticated viewer at that time, I had not seen anything more formidable than them murdering Alex Murphy. Also, I had thought before I saw the scene of Emil Antonowsky's death, but we'll talk about it in a couple of minutes. And in the scenes of Officer Murphy's death, there's one significant artistic detail. Do you remember when Boudica starts Murphy's execution? First of all, he shots off Murphy's right hand with a shotgun just for fun. Later, the bastards deprive him of his whole arm. And therein lies some dark irony for Boudica himself. Something similar to what we have discussed when talking about the movie Darkman, but with a bit of a different twist. In the video on Murphy, I've highlighted that OCP did not have a complete understanding of what RoboCop would technically look like when they started to design Murphy's new body. They, or in particular Bob Morton, opted for a full body prosthesis during the process of RoboCop's creation. For example, from the dialogue between employees, we do know that they tried to save his left hand. And the prosthesis of Murphy's entire body started from his right hand that Boudica and his gang took away from him. And had Boudica not done it, RoboCop could have looked completely different. Who knows, maybe in his right hand there might not have been that device which he used to kill Boudica, injuring his carotid. I mean the data spike. That is, Boudica dies from the very part that he stole from Murphy, namely his right hand. One more thing that's richly ironic about what's happening for Boudica's gang is that the reason why RoboCop continued their pursuit had to do not only with these painful dreams about the murder, but also with what Officer Murphy had remembered before he was murdered. This tells us once again that a complete formatting of Murphy's memory performed by OCP was not entirely successful. He'd heard Emil talking that they were going to invest the stolen money in illicit substances. This is the way RoboCop gets on the trail of Boudica's gang, surprising them when they are purchasing the substances. That is how he got to know where exactly he needs to look for Boudica and his guys. By the way, the name of the gang member who dies in these scenes is Steve Min.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
You!
Dick Jones provides Boudica's gang with an enormously powerful experimental weapon, Cobra Assault Cannon, and the tests of this weapon carried out by the gang right on the streets of Detroit show that a direct hit can spell a real problem for Murphy, similar to what we've seen in RoboCop 2. However, no one from Boudica's gang would be able to hit the right target. RoboCop would actually shoot Joe Cox to death with this weapon in his hands. Boudica's gang tracked Murphy. He led them to the same steel mill where they'd found a temporary asylum with Lewis. This abandoned plant was frequently used as an asylum for the gang, as we understood in the beginning of the movie. That is, they were familiar with the location, but Murphy brought them there to be away from the city, from common citizens. Remember I said the scene of Alex Murphy's death was what traumatized my child's mind the most? I was lying. Emil Antonowsky's death was what traumatized it the most. Despite the fact that he must have known the layout of the mill quite well, he drove into a huge tank of toxic waste. Yes, even though RoboCop distracted him by shooting his his windscreen, Emil saw that he was moving towards an obstacle. Probably he didn't know it was a toxic waste tank. But Murphy knew it for sure, since he was not only shooting baby food jars during his free time, keeping Lewis awake, but also naturally got acquainted with the place. And then we're left to behold the scenes from Body Horror Hall of Fame. Exposed to toxic waste, which in science fiction films usually turns humans into superhumans, Emil Antonowsky turned into a moaning creature with melted skin, which sporadically lets out heart-rending screams. Horrified Nash pushes away the abomination despite his pleas for help. According to the information from open sources, the most common symptoms of human body exposure to toxic waste are poisonings and severe diseases, in particular cancer. In case of direct exposure, there may be burns like from acids. By the way, this label on the tank with waste seems to indicate that it's related to steel production. So yeah, this is not quite what we see in these scenes, but we are not here to look for realism in a sci-fi action movie. What's interesting, toxic waste doesn't influence Emil's skin, hair and clothes the same way. While his skin looks literally molten, especially these patches creepily hanging from his fingers that started to look more like claws because of bare phalanges, his hair and clothes do not look molten. For example, his jeans are absolutely undamaged. Now we could say that the toxic waste only influenced Emil's skin and other injuries were caused by the traffic incident itself. It hit an obstacle at a decent speed after all. But the scenes of Emil's final death tell us the opposite. When Bodica, who was not going to slow down by the way, incidentally hits him, we understand that his body and his locomotor system were almost liquid. Actually, they were liquid. Emil scattered as a carton of juice, which makes it extremely surprising that seconds before being hit by Bodica's car, Emil could stay on his feet. This means, according to the artistic idea of the movie, Emil's body continued to fall apart, in particular melt at a blazing fast rate. But one way or another, RoboCop's story is not a story of rebirth, but a story teaching us that it's always better to study geometry. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also leave a comment down below and share this video with your friends. Bye!